Okay, this is interview with Grampy Hutt. How do you feel about today, Grampy?
It's the day before my 76th birthday, and I'm so looking forward to all the presents I'm going to get tomorrow.
Good.
From my grandson in Minneapolis.
I'm right here. Or do you mean William?
No, all the presents I'm getting from you.
Okay. So, the house you were born in, what was it like?
What type of house was it?
What were the rooms, the bathrooms that have electricity?
We didn't have bathrooms, and we had electricity, but the electric light bulbs hung from the ceiling, and my parents didn't have enough money to pay the light bill, so they shut them off. So for lights, we had candles and kerosene lamps.
Were there any special items in your house that you remember?
I remember the table that we now have in our house. The radio used to sit on at home, and my father was offered $25 for it by an antique dealer, and he wouldn't sell it because he'd have no place to put his radio.
What was your earliest childhood memory?
Going picking blueberries at about 4 years of age with my grandmother, and she took a big wash tub to pick blueberries in.
Did you do that often?
Quite often, yeah.
What were the personalities of your family members?
Personalities of my family members. Well, we were pretty laid back, I think. My father used to get overly excited at times.
You still pretty laid back and calm?
I would think, yeah. Very active. We had no toys to play with to speak of, so we made our own entertainment.
Yeah, that's the next question. What was your favorite toy?
We virtually had no toys.
Did you make any?
Yeah, we used to go back in the woods with hammers and saws and cut down trees and make wheels and wagons.
Out of wood that you cut down yourself?
Yeah, my brother and cousin and I used to go back in the woods and do things like that.
That's awesome. What was your favorite thing to do for fun?
Playing games, softball, volleyball.
Did you ever go to the movies or the beach?
Going to the movies was a rare treat. Maybe at Christmas time we might have enough gas in the car to go to Kentville to a movie, but it was rare. The beach was 15 miles away, and that was a rare event to get to the beach.
Too cold, too.
That's true. The Bay of Fundy was very cold.
Did you have any family chores? What were they?
We had all kinds of chores. Collecting eggs, and milking cows, and cleaning up after the cows, and catching hens.
Catching hens?
Yeah.
Why would you have to do that?
Well, we used to put the hens out on the ranch in the summer, and we'd put them out as younger chickens, and in the fall they'd come in the barns, and we'd have to go and catch them. We'd catch them after they went to roost.
What was your least favorite chore?
Hauling strawberry plants.
Oh, strawberry plant?
Yeah.
I would imagine that would be kind of fun.
No, it was hard work.
Did you receive an allowance?
We had no allowance. We worked for nothing.
Nothing.
Generally speaking.
Except for room and board.
Yeah, we got room and board. One summer I insisted that my father pay me for a summer's work, because I had to buy school books and clothing to go to school in September, and he had to go next door to an elderly gentleman and borrow some money to pay me $20 for a summer's labor. Wow. And I had to spend all of that on school books and clothing.
So you didn't get to save any of it?
Yeah, I had to spend it all.
What was school like for you as a child, and what were your best and worst subjects?
Well, school was very interesting because we were one of the few kids in the community that their parents owned a farm, And of course we had to work all summer, and evenings and weekends, and we used to pray in the summertime for September to come so we could get back to school, because that was a vacation to us. But my favorite subjects were math and science. My least favorite was English and French.
I can believe that. Did you participate in any sports?
Yeah, we used to have softball tournaments, and the various communities in the area would have a softball team, and we would compete with that and other communities, and we used to do quite well. We used to do track and field at school. We would go to a larger school for a spring track and field tournament.
Track practice? Cool. Do you remember any fads, like hairstyles or anything?
Brush cuts,
What's that?
when they just take a pair of clippers and cut your hair off.
Oh, so it's like
Level?
a buzz cut? You just...
That in the summertime, springtime, it was very common to get a brush cut.
Oh yeah, it must have been hot.
In fact, when I got an interview for a job at the Royal Bank, I had a brush cut. The guy that interviewed me sort of joked about what prison I just come out of. That was very typical of the inmates that had brush cuts.
Who were your childhood heroes?
I think my teachers probably.
Really?
Yeah.
You look up to them?
Yeah, very much.
You wanted to be like them?
Yeah, they were a big influence on the little bit of education I managed to get, because education back then wasn't a big priority.
You were mostly working on the farm?
First thing in the morning, you get up and gobbled down your breakfast and went out in the barn and collected the eggs and got your clothes all polluted with
Dirt.
hen poop, and then you went off to school. And at home, lunchtime, you gobbled down your dinner and you cleaned eggs for half an hour, and then back to school. And then after school was out, you tore home to collect the eggs for the afternoon and clean them up. And it was
Hard work?
well, it didn't seem to be all that hard at the time, but it wasn't exactly fun either, especially when your friends didn't have to do that.
Did you have any pets?
We always had cats and dogs around the farm.
Yeah, besides the chickens and the hens.
Yeah. The dogs and cats were special.
Were you ever mentioned in a newspaper?
Not that I can remember.
Who were your friends growing up, and do you keep in contact with them?
Yeah, I've been in touch with some of them. Unfortunately, at family funerals and events like that.
No. What world events had the most impact on you while you were growing up, and did any of them personally affect your family?
No, I think the nuclear age in the 50s was, it was always on your mind, where you're going to be annihilated by some dumb politician that pulled the trigger on nuclear bombs, but it never happened.
Yeah, that would be pretty scary.
Yeah.
Describe a typical family dinner. Did you eat all together as a family?
We always did as a family, yeah.
Always?
Always, yeah.
Yeah, because...
But I did recall one event, if you want to have it recorded, was my father was always very generous, and even though we didn't have much to spread around, that was back in the days when there was always a tramp or two walking up the road and with a backpack on, heading for the railroad tracks. They'd stay at the train station all night, and my father was always going out and invite them in for supper. And one particular night, my mother made a bowl full of hash, and that was all we had for probably 6 of us, plus the tramp. And of course, being the polite guy he was, my father handed the bowl of hash to the tramp to take out his portion, and he put it down in front of him, and he ate the whole works. And we went to bed hungry.
He ate the entire bowl?
He ate the whole bowl of hash. supposed to. It was supposed to be for the rest of us too.
Oh my God. Were you mad at your dad?
After the tramp left, my mother gave my father a good scolding, and I don't think it happened again.
How is the world most different today than it was when you were a child?
Well, the electronics that are available today and the communications, and there was just none of that. When we were growing up, there was the odd person would have a brownie camera, but if you could afford to buy the film to put in the camera, you probably couldn't afford to pay the price to have the film developed. So there wasn't a lot of photographs of us growing up as we were kids compared with today.
Yeah, you can just press a button.
Yeah,
And it's
if you could
immediately
afford to
available.
buy a computer today, we would take hundreds of thousands of pictures.
Yep. That's how everything goes.
Yeah.
It's gotten a lot easier. What stories have come down about your parents?
Pardon me?
What stories have come down about your parents?
Oh, many stories of how they lived. My parents had to move from Hants County in Nova Scotia to Kings County a month before I was born, and they did it all in a Model T Ford truck.
Really?
And there was one fairly large hill in Hants County that the truck wouldn't go up the hill, and I had to get a team of horses from a farmer to pull it up the hill so that they could continue the trip to Kings County. And a month later I was born. So I don't remember that, of course. But my father always had lots of stories.
Really?
Yeah.
Did he tell them to you a lot?
Oh yeah, we used to hear. Most of them I've forgotten, but the odd one sticks with you.
He did? He had a story that stuck with you?
Well, yeah, that one in particular.
Yeah. That one sounded important. Are there any special heirlooms, photos, Bibles, or anything that's been passed down?
Yeah, we have a family's Bible from my grandfather that he was married in Boston, and sometime shortly after moved to Nova Scotia, and they had a nice family Bible, which I have now, and apparently, as I was told, they came from Boston to Yarmouth, Nova Scotia on a ferry, and there was a huge storm came up, and the waves blew the windows out of the ferry, and their belongings got wet from seawater, and this Bible, which I'll show you later on today, shows the remnants of that storm.
Ooh, were they scared?
I would say so, yes.
When did you meet Grandma? How old were you when you met Grandma?
I was 22, I think.
Were you in college?
No, I was working for the Royal Bank in
Oh.
Bedeck, Nova Scotia. Met her at a dance.
What did you do on dates?
Go for drives and go into a restaurant and have coffee. Go to a movie once in a while.
Did you go in cars as fancy as the Cutlass?
Well, I had a very nice 1952 Chevrolet at the time that my cousin, who was a school teacher, bought it out in Alberta. He was out there teaching and came home and taught in Nova Scotia. As soon as I heard he traded the car in, I went to the dealer and bought it because it was a very nice car. Unfortunately, a year or so later, a bunch of drunks crashed it.
Oh.
That was the end of it.
Where and when did you get married?
We got married in Cape Breton in 1959.
1959. What memory stands out most from the wedding day?
Well, it was a very simple wedding because we couldn't afford any fancy wedding. You know, we just got married in the minister's residence. I was working in Halifax at the time, so that was our honeymoon. We drove to Halifax from Cape Breton.
How did you choose your children's names? Was that random?
I think your grandmother chose most of the names.
Did you like the names?
Yeah, I was okay with them.
What do you believe is the key to a successful marriage?
Work hard, only spend on necessities.
Only spend on necessities. I'll remember that. What was your proudest moment as a parent?
I guess when the first child came along.
Really? There aren't any like sporting events or
Oh, I thought you meant
education.
the birth of.
Oh no. Like how like what was the most like prominent thing that stands out from something that like Aunt Sherry or Dad did?
Don't quite understand what you're getting at.
Did Aunt Sherry or Dad or did Aunt Sherry or Jamie like ever get like any awards that made you feel proud?
None that I can remember specifically.
What did your family enjoy doing together?
Well, we used to enjoy going for car drives Sunday afternoon until the children started getting bored with it, so we had to cut it out.
How could you get bored of a car drive?
Ask your father and your Uncle Danny.
I will. I want an answer now. What was your profession? Why'd you choose it?
Well, when I graduated from high school, there was only about 3 things you could do. If you couldn't afford to go to university, which my parents couldn't afford to send me, even though the university was 25 miles down the road, you could only do about 3 things. Go into the armed services, or go into the RCMP, or join a bank.
Really?
So I decided on banking.
Because nowadays it's all like fast food businesses and everybody goes into.
Well, today it's get a university education, if at all possible, and you'll increase your chances of better success in life. But
If you could have had any other profession, what would have it been?
I probably would have went to university and got a degree in engineering. Or
You would want to make your own cars?
that would be interesting. Work for all the car companies.
Like Ford?
If they'd had me, I'd work for them, sure.
Really?
Yeah.
What like car company would you want to work for most?
I expect General Motors or.
That's an interesting choice. Of all the things that you learned from your parents, what do you feel is the most valuable?
Thriftiness. Make sure you get value for your dollar.
Definitely important. What accomplishments are you most proud of?
Raising 5, family of 5, supporting them, seeing them succeed in life.
And what is one thing that you want people to remember the most about you?
That I was an old grouch and an old grump.
No, you're not, Grampy.
Oh, thank you. Sometimes I get the impression that some of my family think I'm grouchy and grumpy.
Not that much. You're not one of the
I'm only kidding, really.
not one of the old grumps who sit on the porch and yell at kids.
Well, I used to do a bit of that when they were bad, but they weren't bad.
Anything else you want to say?
Well, I think that's fine. You did a good job.
Oh,
Thank you.